Hey guys, before we get into the video, I just wanted to let you know that I launched a Christmas pack of stickers on my Etsy shop called Candlelight Christmas. There are 3 new designs, all is calm, stay cozy, and fairy lights, and they can be bought separately or in a bundle at a discounted price. If you want to get some holiday stickers for yourself or a loved one, the link to my shop is always down below. Alright, let's get into the video. 2021 in my bullet journal was pretty monumental, I'd like to say. It's the best bullet journal I've ever made, although I only started last year, so that doesn't really count. But it was my first art and olive journal, and with it I opened an Etsy shop and got serious with YouTube. I'm really excited to show you all my spreads, so here we go. Starting out with, of course, my intro spreads, which I actually never liked that much because I was trying to be too minimal, but it was like the first video that blew up on my channel, so these spreads do hold a lot of memories for me. I have the bucket list that I never actually filled out, YouTube planning and Etsy planning that again was never used, and a video Kanban that I think I used twice but never after that. It goes to show that I guess some spreads in my bullet journal won't be used, and you can see this is a reoccurring trend throughout the rest of the spreads. This mood board was one of my favorite spreads that I ever made. I definitely will be doing another one for 2022. Okay, getting into January, this theme was a recreation from Art and Foxes, who is an amazing artist and I love her style so much. It was the first theme in this bullet journal obviously, but I felt that going into an art journal of bullet journal I had to put so much effort towards it, so all of these spreads are actually a lot better than probably some of my recent ones. I spent so much time making these spreads and weekly spreads because I felt like they had to match the quality that the journal was in comparison to my spiral from 2020. February was one of my favorite bullet journal themes ever this year, actually. I'll be ranking all of my bujo themes next week's video, but for now, let's just say that I loved every single drawing in this setup, and I think the colors, although being hodgepodgely put together, if that's even a word, right before I was filming, I think they look really great together. I was experimenting a lot here with quote pages and extra pages like this playlist right here, which I love so much, and yeah, I just think this was a really great theme. Moving on to March, this was when I tried to be minimal, and this happens multiple times during the year, so just get used to it. This theme actually turned out really cute, but I ended up giving up on trackers like partway through, and even gratitude, which leads me to later quitting trackers, but we'll get to that. Some of these weekly spreads are actually my favorite from the entire year. I think the fact that I was only using one marker as a color palette forced me to look at these spreads in a different way and create differently than I had been before. So April was the first month that I tried scrapbooking again since 2020. Those themes had not gone well for me, I had ran out of ideas, and I thought it was a good time to bring them back again, but unfortunately the same problem happened. I don't really learn my lesson very well with scrapbooking and bullet journals because I got tired of pasting in so much paper. Hence why these ending spreads in April were not really my favorite, although I will say the color palette is pretty aesthetic, and this goals playing title makes me so happy. This weekly spread was inspired by Lila Journals, credit to her because oh my gosh, her art style is amazing. Moving on to May, this was another one of my favorite journal themes from the entire year. I just love all the neon colors and graffiti style that I'd honestly never used before. There was a lot of black, obviously, in this theme that I was not used to after trying to be minimal before, but honestly, this pushed me out of my comfort zones, and I love how these spreads turned out. Maybe not as applicable for a spring month like May, but you know what? Who cares? So the last theme in this journal was June 2021, and this was my clouds theme. Now I actually did not like how most of these spreads turned out because I felt they were pretty boring and elementary, but you guys liked it because this video did pretty well too. So hopefully you guys get some inspiration from these spreads. June was also my birthday month, so I have a couple birthday spreads here, which will be really nice to look back on in a couple of years. Okay, so this journal's pretty much done, and here in the back I just have a couple spreads that I used when filming. For example, this purple theme section was from my travel video, which will be linked in the description box below, and also coming up are the back to school spreads in green, also linked down below. Basically, I just use the extra papers for when I need an extra journal to use when making example spreads for you guys. So this first journal is done, and now we can move on to the second half of 2021, which I used for July to December in my bullet journal. Starting out with the beginning spread again, you can already tell that this was an improvement from what I did at the beginning of 2021. I scrapped the idea of being minimal and just added a lot of color everywhere and big, large calligraphy, which is more my style, and honestly I love how it turned out. I'm a little behind in filling out these spreads, like the YouTube content, Etsy content spreads, even the reading tracker, but I'll go back and fill that in at the end of the year probably. So now we go on to July, and this was inspired by Little Olive Bullet Journal, I think. That's the username. Anyway, this theme was also very colorful and big and chunky, and it was a little hard to draw all of the detailed designs in every weekly spread, which got a little annoying at one point, but the colors made me so happy and were very summer related, which was kind of cool. July is one of the hardest months to find a theme for usually because it just doesn't seem like any theme works perfectly, so I'm just happy I could find something to work for this part of my bullet journal. Okay, now moving on to August, which is the third favorite bullet journal theme of the year. I did not use line art for this entire setup. I tried my hardest to just use colors, and I really love how that turned out in the end. The color palette was also really interesting, and I loved playing around with mostly primary colors, which has been a goal since the beginning of the year. And I will definitely be going back to this style because honestly, my weekly spreads were so easy to make without line art, and I think it'd be a much easier way to do bullet journaling. Okay, September. So this is when I went back to scrapbooking, like I mentioned earlier. Ignore that little packing list there. This was a very haphazard month because it was when my art block started. I brought back scrapbooking because it was an easy way, I guess, for me to kind of chill and journal and see what kind of theme comes out of it. Unfortunately, it did not work out too well because, just as always, I got bored of scrapbooking, but the weekly spreads do look kind of cute, even though they were quite time-consuming. We're already here at October, which was my Pirates theme, and honestly, I love how the colors turned out in this theme, but since I was in the middle of my art block still, the weekly spreads are very boring to me. And this brings us to November, which was pretty much the end of my art block, thank goodness, and it was an up theme, and I actually love how this setup turned out. It was very minimal and pretty colorful. The only thing I wish I would have done is stuck with the red and cream colors instead of the rainbow ones for most of the weekly spreads, but whatever, it's fine. So finally, my art block is pretty much done, and we're moving on to December, which is the last theme in this journal, and not one of my favorites, but I think it's a revelation for me because I just love the layouts of these spreads more than anything. And this is the last spread that I've set up in my bullet journal so far for 2021, so that is going to be it for this flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed all the spreads and got some inspiration from it. If you did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below if you haven't. Next week, like I mentioned, I'll be ranking my bullet journal themes, so don't forget to stick around for that. Don't forget to check out my Etsy shop for the new Christmas stickers that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Toodles!